Hello, heroes. Are you ready for the journey? In a little bit, we're going to experience the Odyssey, supposedly told by the rhapsode, the epic poet Homer, if he really existed, thousands of years ago. It's the story of one man's journey to achieve greatness and then somehow find his way back home. But before we can get to his journey, we need to take a look at the forces that brought him where he ended up. So, we're going to take a look at the Trojan War and the mythological reasons why it started. It's a story of bravery, love, and loss. So, batten down your hatches, hold on to your hats, grab a bunch of other cliches, and let's get started. Night is upon us. I've lit a candle. Pretend you're sitting around an ancient Greek campfire as you listen to the story of brave Hector, wily Odysseus, rash Paris, beautiful Helen, vengeful Clytemnestra, ambitious Agamemnon, and all of the rest of them. Okay? So, here goes. The ancient Greeks, the ancient rhapsodes or traveling poet singers, would have invoked the epic muse Calliope, muse of epic poetry, and asked her to speak through them so that they may tell the story in the most beautiful way possible. So let's do that, shall we? O Calliope, muse of epic poetry, please speak through me that I may tell the story of how 1,000 Greek ships ended up sailing against the beautiful city of Troy. So here goes. Diddle-oo, diddle-oo, diddle-oo. Way back when, in ancient times, there was a city named Troy. Later on in ancient Rome, the Romans would call it Ilium. We're going to call it Troy. Now, Troy was a very wealthy city on an isthmus that jutted out into the Mediterranean Sea, and it was very close to the passageway between Europe and Asia. So it was a great location for a city because anybody wanting to do trade with Europe or Asia or both, between the two, they would have to stop there to unload supplies, load up supplies, and the Trojans were very smart people. They charged heavy tariffs. So, if there really was a Trojan War way back when, it may have actually started for economic reasons. Other countries wanting to, fight against Troy, gain control of the city so they didn't have to pay such high prices to trade there. We're not going to talk about those possibly real-life reasons. We're going to talk about the much more fun mythological reasons. So, back in that time, Troy was ruled by King Priam, who at this time was a young king but had already proved himself very capable. The people loved him. He always had their best interest at heart. He was a good guy. His wife's name was Hecuba, and the two had 2 children already. Prince Hector, who was their oldest and heir to the kingdom of Troy. Hector was a strong, happy, active little boy of, around 4-ish years old. Okay? He has a younger sister named Cassandra, who, let's think of her as around 2 years old. Okay? So they've already got 2 kids, and they have 1 on the way. In fact, Hecuba is due to deliver her new baby in a matter of weeks. When she wakes up in the middle of the night, screaming her head off, gasping for breath, sweating through the sheets. Her ladies in waiting don't know what to do. Oh my gosh, my lady, what's wrong? And she practically gasps out. She can't even really talk. She's like, I just had the worst dream. And so her ladies go and they get the king, and he comes running, and he sees the state that his wife is in, and he runs immediately for help to the court oracle. The thing about these oracle guys who could see into the future and interpret dreams and all that stuff, they pop up all over the place in Greek myths. The thing is, there were no therapists back then. There's no psychotherapy. There's really nobody except friends that you can talk to if you've got a real problem. So the ancient Greeks would go to oracles, and that's where they hoped a lot of times to find answers. The thing of it is, though, these oracle guys never, ever give you good news. It seems like they're always doom and gloom, and they give you all these bad things that are going to happen, and then people feel like they should go out and try to change the course of fate. But you can't do that, not according to the Greeks. The fates cannot be changed. They cannot be swayed. Not even their dad Zeus can change their minds. But the Greeks are constantly trying to test this. Anyway, with that in mind, let's continue on with our story. The oracle goes into the queen's chambers, and he says, "My lady, please calm yourself, and when you're ready, tell me your dream. That way I can interpret it for you and hopefully ease your mind." Yeah, like that's going to happen. But anyway, Queen Hecuba does calm down, and as soon as she's able, she tells the room full of her ladies in waiting and her husband and the oracle her dream, and it's a doozy. According to her dream, she gave birth to a flaming torch. Ouch, right? That's not the half of it, though. As soon as this flaming torch is delivered, it sets fire to the city of Troy, and in her dream, the queen watched every family member, every person, man, woman, child, in her beautiful city go up in flames, screaming in pain. Yikes. The oracle looks really flustered because the message he has to tell is not a message that a king's going to want to hear, and nobody wants to give bad news. But the king says, "Come on, tell us what this dream means." The oracle says, "All right, unfortunately, your dream means that this child that you're carrying, I'm so sorry to have to tell you this, but he's going to grow up to destroy your city and everyone in it." Bummer, right? Well, Priam has a horrible choice he's got to make. On the one hand, he's got the welfare of his unborn child. He's been kind of excited that he's having another baby. But on the other hand, he's got to consider his kingdom. He's the king. The buck stops with him. He's totally responsible for every life of every person in his city. So he's weighing the consequences. What's he going to do? Decide in favor of his newborn child, decide in favor of everybody in his city. And in the end, he's a king. He decides that when the baby is born, they're going to have to get rid of it in order to protect everybody in the city. So, 2 weeks pass, and Queen Hecuba goes into labor, and she delivers a beautiful, healthy, bouncy baby boy. Now, the king and queen were planning to name him Alexandros, but considering the circumstances, they leave him unnamed, and the king gives his newborn son to one of his servants and says, "Hey, take him out to Mount Ida, go up about halfway, and leave him out there in the elements. We'll let the gods decide what happens." So the servant does what he's asked. He takes little baby Alexandros and he walks up the mountain. And when he gets to what seems like a good spot to leave a baby to die, he does it. And then he walks back down the mountain. Now, meanwhile, there's a shepherd in the vicinity. Because you know those shepherds are always around when something big is happening, usually involving babies. But anyway, this guy hears what he thinks is a baby crying and thinks, whoa, that's weird. What's a baby doing out here?